Hey Credit Warriors, Credit Shifu here, and today we are going to be doing a bit of a versus video with two of the most popular starter credit cards, the Capital One Platinum and the Discover It card, okay? Now, both these cards, they can be used as starter cards. The Discover It is possibly a little bit of a higher rung up the ladder than the Capital One Platinum from some point of views. For example, in my 5-tier credit card tier system, I put the Capital One Platinum at tier 1 and the Discover It at tier 2 just because it does have some rewards. But actually a lot of people do advocate starting with the Discover It card, and some people advocate starting off with the Capital One Platinum for various reasons. And we are going to run through many different categories and we are going to give them scores. And then also at the end, we're going to obviously tally that up, give you a final score, and then we'll also tell you which card is right for who. So let's get started. First of all, it's your approval odds, okay? And in this category, the Capital One Platinum, it's a card for fair credit. So we're talking in the 600s, low to mid 600s, you can get approved for the Capital One Platinum. It's pretty easy to get approved if you have basically no credit score at all. And as long as you have a job and an address that appears on your credit file, you should be able to get approved with a low credit limit, for example, $300. The Discover It card. Most of the reviews say that it's a card for good credit, so the upper 600s. However, I think that's not set in stone. A lot of people can get this for their first credit card, but it might help to have been an authorized user on someone else's account first before you apply for this. Maybe, okay? But a lot of people do still get approved for this as a first card. But just because the Capital One Platinum is a little bit easier to get, I'm going to give that 1 point. So we're at 1-0 right now. Next, we have the APR. So the APR on the Capital One Platinum is 26.99%, and it varies with the prime rate. Now that is a pretty high percentage rate, okay? 26.99. Compare that with the Discover It, which gives you 0% APR for the first 14 months on purchases and balance transfers, and then it'll give you between 14.24% and 25.24% variable depending on your credit worthiness. So even if you do have poor credit and you get the highest APR rate, it's still lower than the APR on the Capital One Platinum. So I'm going to give Discover It 1 point for this, so we are at 1-all. Next, we have a few very simple categories to go through. So first up, we have the annual fee. Both cards have no annual fee, so I'm going to give a point for each. So we're now at 2-2. Now we go for foreign transaction fees, and again, both cards have no foreign transaction fees, so I'm going to give another point to each, and we are at 3-3. Now let's look at acceptance, okay? And there's a bit more to talk about for this category. So the Capital One Platinum acceptance is very good. It's a MasterCard, so it'll be accepted everywhere in the US and overseas, okay? It's Visa and MasterCard are the two highest acceptance card networks, all right? So you're gonna have no problem with that. Very, very simple. For the Discover It, it's a Discover card, which is its own network, okay? So it's a direct card company to consumer. There's no issuing bank or anything that's kind of in the middle there. It's, direct, similar to the way American Express does most of its cards. But there are some problems with this. So acceptance for Discover in the US is very good. According to a 2014 Nielsen study, Visa and MasterCard were accepted at 9.5 million US merchants, and Discover was accepted at 9.3 million. So only just 0.2 million or 200,000 less. That's a very small margin. So basically it's accepted most places in the US, and even more than American Express is accepted in the US. But outside the US, it is a different story. Now Discover has this map on their website. The countries in orange accept Discover, and the countries in gray do not accept Discover at all at this time, although Discover's keen to point out they are negotiating market access in many of these places. But even the orange ones, they range from high acceptance in the US itself to moderate acceptance in most other countries, okay? And moderate acceptance could really mean anything. It's not very clear what it means. In these other countries, you normally have to look for a different sign, a card network sign. So for example, in the UK and in Europe, you look for Diners Club International, so you can use your Discover card where Diners Club International is accepted. In China, you look for UnionPay, which is their biggest card network, the biggest Chinese card network, so it should be accepted quite widely actually in China if UnionPay is the network that you use. In Japan, you look for JCB, which is their card network. It's very big in Japan, so you should be able to use it a lot in Japan. But in most of Africa, in the Middle East, and in Eastern Europe, it's not accepted at all. And even, like we said, even in those orange countries where it is accepted, it's only moderate acceptance, so it won't be accepted everywhere. So, if you are traveling abroad, I think the Discover It isn't going to be as useful to you as the Capital One Platinum, which is a MasterCard and accepted everywhere. So I'm going to give Capital One the point for that one, and that takes us up to 4-3. Now we have rewards, and this is definitely a category that the Discover It wins on because, hey, the Capital One offers no rewards whatsoever, whereas the Discover It card has the 5% rotating quarterly categories, similar to the Chase Freedom, where you can earn 5% on $1,500 worth of spending. So that's $75 worth of cash back up for grabs in those categories, in those spending categories each quarter. They release a calendar for them each year, so you can't choose the categories. And then after you've maxed out those categories, just 1% on everything else and all other purchases outside of the categories. And Discover It does have its lucrative year one cashback match, where they'll match all the cashback you've earned in the first year at the end of the year. So you're basically earning, well, in the categories, you're earning 10%, and on everything else, you're earning 2% in the first year because they match it at the end of the year. So very lucrative rewards. Discover definitely gets the point for that. And that takes us up to 4-all. Next, we have credit limit increases. So Capital One Platinum offers a credit limit increase after 5 months worth of on-time payments, okay? And this is guaranteed, really. As long as you pay on time, they'll automatically increase your credit line after 5 months. And it does not generate a hard pull, it's a soft pull, so it won't affect your credit as well. Now, with Discover, they will give you credit limit increases on the card. In fact, they encourage you to look into a credit limit increase, and they give you some information on the website about, you know, when you'd be eligible. And again, it's a similar information, like if you've had, you know, quite a few months of on-time payments, etc. They encourage you to apply for it, but it's not, you know, they don't state on their website that they'll give you an automatic increase. And they also say that when you apply for a credit limit increase, it may affect your credit. It may be a hard pull as well. So I'm going to give Capital One the point for this, just because it is very clear cut. After 5 months, it's a guaranteed increase as long as you've paid on time every month. So that brings us up to 5-4. Next, we'll have a look at the credit score offered by these cards. Now, Capital One has its CreditWise credit scoring model, which uses VantageScore 3.0. CreditWise used to be really inaccurate, I remember 3 or 4 years ago. It's got a bit better, but it's still not great, I would say. I still don't rate it great. Whereas Discover actually gives you a free FICO score, and FICO is the same model that the banks use. It may not be as professional, you know, version of the FICO score as the banks will use, but at least it is a FICO score. So I would say that Discover It is a bit closer. On these though, you can actually get these scores for free. You don't have to have the card for either of them. For CreditWise or Discover It, you can go to the Discover Scorecard, Credit Scorecard, or you can go to CreditWise, and both of them will offer you a free credit score, even if you do not have the card, okay? But just because Discover's credit score is a FICO score, I'm gonna give Discover the point for this one. And so that brings us up to 5-5. Now let's have a look at product change options, okay? So for the Capital One Platinum, there are a variety of product change options. I product changed mine to the Quicksilver. Quicksilver is 1.5% cash back on all purchases, kind of like a Freedom Unlimited or similar kind of card. But you can also product change to the Venture. I was offered that. And now I believe you can product change to the Saver as well. Okay, I wanted the Saver, but at the time you weren't able to product change to it. With Capital One, the product changes are not guaranteed, so they kind of actually open up some cards to you. You have to phone up and ask what product change options are available specifically to you, and they'll tell you. But you know, options can include the Quicksilver, the Venture, and the Saver. So quite a few product change options there. With the Discover It, you cannot product change because Discover It card is basically their best card. It's their highest level card. You can product change from the Discover It student to the Discover It card. I believe people have said that you can do that in online forums and blogs, but you cannot change the Discover It to any other card because there's nothing higher than it, okay? You're at the top, basically, of Discover. They don't really do premium credit cards, okay? It's kind of a sort of lower level rewards card. So I will give the point to Capital One, and that takes us to 6-5. And now we have one final category, which is other benefits, okay? Now, Capital One, because it is a MasterCard, it gets the Platinum MasterCard benefits, which include collision damage waiver, for rental cars, which by the way is secondary, okay? So that means you have to claim on your own insurance first, and whatever that doesn't cover will be covered by the collision damage waiver from the card, okay? It's better for it to be primary, but you know, at a card this level, I wouldn't expect more than secondary, okay? There's no annual fee, so yeah, secondary insurance is what you get. You also get roadside assistance, you get travel accident insurance, and you get extended warranty. So quite a nice suite of benefits there from the Capital One Platinum. The Discover It does not have any of these benefits. Discover did used to have some of the benefits listed on the Capital One Platinum, some of them, not all, but they were cancelled in February 2018, so last year, and basically they've gone the route of just focusing on rewards, kind of like what Citi is trying to do now, cancelling basically all of this kind of benefits on its cards and just focusing on rewards. Maybe Citi thinks it worked well for Discover, so they're going to try it themselves. I don't know, but personally, I don't think it's the best route to go because I do value those sort of insurances and extended warranty, etc. I just bought a dryer and a washer, and I specifically used the Amex Gold card because it provided extended warranty, that kind of stuff. But anyway, since Capital One does provide those benefits, I'm going to give them the point for that one. So our grand total is 7-5. Okay, so 7 points to Capital One, 5 to Discover. Now, take that with a grain of salt, all right? Because really, these cards are going to be, beneficial to different people, okay? So if you are someone who, you don't really have much of a credit score or credit history, you want a good starter card that you're pretty much guaranteed to get, it's an easier application, a little bit easier, I would say, for the Capital One Platinum. And also, if you're going to be traveling abroad, Capital One Platinum is definitely the one to go to over Discover, just because of the acceptance. Acceptance is much more guaranteed. Even though you will be able to use Discover overseas, it's nowhere near as guaranteed as with a MasterCard, okay? And especially if you're going to the Middle East or you're going to Eastern Europe or Africa, you've really got to look into that, okay? But if you are someone who perhaps, you've had maybe one card before or you've had an authorized user card, getting the Discover It shouldn't be that difficult, especially if you've lived in the United States your whole life. There's more of a profile build up, or you've used something like Experian Boost, or you've used some other way of, getting just a little bit of a leg on the credit card ladder, even if you don't have a credit card. Discover It should still be an easy application. I do know people who've got it as a first card with pretty much no credit history at all anyway, so it's just a little bit harder. But if you want rewards, if you're going to be spending in the US, you're not traveling, and you want it for the cashback, it's a really good cashback card. So if your priority is getting some rewards, go for the Discover It. If your priority is more like things like having a credit card to actually give you some extended warranty, some more protections like that, and you want, guaranteed acceptance overseas, then go for the Capital One Platinum. I generally recommend the Capital One Platinum just because at the stage when you start building credit, it's not really the time to worry about rewards. Just get your credit score built first, and then worry about rewards later. But, to be honest, you could get both. You could start with the Capital One Platinum and then after a few months get the Discover It, and then later upgrade the Capital One Platinum to the Quicksilver, normally after the first year, to the Quicksilver or the Saver or whatever. And, that would be a good strategy. So really, they're both good, but that's just a little breakdown of what might be right for who. I will put a link to the Capital One Platinum below so you can learn more about it. I'll also put a link to the Quicksilver, which is another one you could get if you have got a slightly high credit score. You could go straight for that one anyway, 1.5% cashback. So feel free to have a look and learn more about those cards down below. Please subscribe if you are new, guys, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.